So, several of you have mentioned the pursuit of happiness and, um, that each person should be able to pursue happiness as long as they're not hurting other people in the context of this utilitarianism discussion, which I totally understand. But then you say you can't put a number value on life. And this is the challenge for utilitarianism. Because what exactly does it mean to say that the greatest good or one of the greater goods is to be able to pursue happiness without harm to others, but you can't put a number on life? Traditionally in utilitarianism, it's one life is one life and one person's happiness is one person's happiness. And that is, if there is a strength to utilitarianism, that's it. Everybody's equal. So there are versions of utilitarianism that say, well, no, they're not. But here's the problem. How do you measure, how do you put a number on happiness? How do you determine that what you're calling the greatest good, if you're going to call that the greatest good? That creates problems. And I'm not just talking about, the Pojman chapter in the textbook, which you should have read on objective and relative ethics, where he talks about Ted Bundy. I mean, Ted Bundy was a sick individual who got happiness from tormenting and murdering other people. Let's lay that aside and say that it has to be without bringing harm to others. But what does that look like, and how do you measure it? Is there a line? How do you determine? These are the problems for making happiness, individual happiness, the greatest good. What if somebody's worked really hard their whole life and they're retired and they really like movies, they like classic movies, so they've retired, they've saved up, they're not some millionaire, they've just got, they've worked hard. And really the things that they wanted in life, now they're retiring and they have a big house and they're able to put in a home theater system, right? Nothing evil about that. Nothing bad about that. And maybe they've worked for a long time as well, and their other joy is really just, going for a nice drive. And they've saved and they actually bought like a classic, convertible classic sports car that even maybe their hobby was to work on it and rebuild it. They've hit 60, they finally got there. And they've retired a little early, they've got their theater, they've got their car, and now they're happy. They've not done anybody wrong, they've been a hard worker, they've been fair to people, they've never cheated anybody. Well, if happiness is the standard, how do you base an ethical system on happiness without putting a number on things? And if you're going to put a number on things, where do you draw it? Because what are we going to do about this reality, right? Someone is starving. I'm sure they're not happy going to bed with a growling stomach. How many little children could that car feed? How many people could they make happy by, say, reducing the size of their house? Maybe just getting a big screen TV and a nice couch instead of a home theater system. Smaller house, so their taxes aren't as high. Or, maybe they can do something about the refugee problem. What do you do about that? People having to live in tents while they're living in this big house. How do you base an ethical system simply on happiness and it not be a utilitarian system? There's one option, but it's going to have its own problems. We'll get to that in a couple of weeks. But those of you who are saying happiness is the greatest good, you need to realize that that is the basis for utilitarianism. It's the claim that happiness is one of the most important things, individual happiness. And because you can't put a number on any one individual that's higher than another individual, then you have to say the most happiness for the most number, which would seem to imply that you can't have your theater system and your nice sports car that you've been working on and saving for until everybody has their basic needs met. That's what utilitarianism would say on some level, because you can't put a number on one life that's any higher than a number on another life. So just something to think about. That's where utilitarianism is going. Read carefully, watch those videos. There's clearly some other problems with it, and we'll talk about that through the week ahead.